Now this is more playtesting of my second Bull Run scenario of the pub battle system designed by Marshall Barrington of Command Post Games. For those who have already purchased Bull Run, this scenario is a very affordable second battle that you can play out using this fabulous map. This scenario covers August 29th and 30th, the last 2 days of the battle. Longstreet will be coming on late in the morning on the Warrenton Turnpike. On day 1, there are no special rules. You win by capturing bags or by eliminating half the infantry blocks of the opposing force. When the game opens and Jackson is alone, he only has 3 infantry blocks in all this force. If Pope can nail and destroy 2 of those infantry blocks, it's a quick, easy win. But he's only got 2 turns to do it. Turn 3, Jackson comes on. And they go from 3 infantry blocks to 8 infantry blocks. It's a whole different ballgame then. The Bull Run is only crossable at bridges and fords. There's a ford here, and the next crossing is at this ford here. And then there's another up here. So there's kind of a pinch point being stuck north or south of Bull Run. Stuart's HQ has been combined with Longstreet's HQ, and this results in a much more realistic application of Stuart's initiative in the battle. He sent his bags north along a different route. Now Jackson moving last was critical in the chit draw here because had he moved in the beginning, Pope's forces could have responded a turn sooner to his northward move. Score Jackson. Turn 2. It's mid-morning. In a fortuitous turn, this time Jackson was drawn first. This allows him another turn of shifting north without any response from Pope. Jackson north to command Stuart. Jackson moves to the top of the hill where the Bed Hill Farm is located. A great vantage point. Meanwhile, Jackson has the rest of his corps race across the Bull Run. And now finally the Northern Army can react. Fitz-John Porter takes a hard right at the next junction and races north. Sigel's corps attacks the old rail line. Heintzelman desperately forms up his corps to move north of Bull Run. One combat here, Sigel's forces run into a Confederate detachment. The detachment bloodies some Yankee noses and then fades off. Turn 3, late morning. Longstreet and Lee arrive. Heintzelman notes Stuart's cavalry on the mountain watching them. He moves to chase them off. We don't need their prying eyes. Longstreet and Lee enter on the Warrenton Turnpike in column, and they cannot get closer than 1/3 of an infantry move to an enemy unit. Now here's a conundrum. What will the Yankees do? But first, Jackson's chit has been drawn. Jackson has his detachments continue to screen. He has his artillery positioned to fire south of Bull Run. His bags are safely tucked away, and he's ready to defensive line in the hills. Sigel's Army of Virginia 1st Corps races across the bridge in pursuit. Pope moves to order the Army of Virginia 3rd Corps into battle and positions his artillery on the south side of Stony Ridge. Fitz-John Porter occupies Groveton, and Reno's Army of Potomac 3rd Corps races up to anchor Heintzelman's right flank. Pope's charge to clear the rest of the Confederates from the abandoned rail line. The thin line of Confederate detachments inflicted grave losses on Pope's troops, but ultimately were pushed aside. Sigel's crossing of the Bull Run. The Confederate artillery will fire first. The grape proves effective. The Confederate holds, and now it's lunchtime. Jackson is drawn first. He unpacks his bags behind the Cornell farm. That allows his artillery to recover. Now Pope has, in pub battles terms, a victory objective. If he can sack these bags, he wins. But look at all his spent troops already. He himself may have to unpack bags, and that puts the shoe on the other foot. Pope's not unpacking bags yet. Let's see how this falls out. Longstreet is drawn next. Now Longstreet could race up here, but he's got a plan. Longstreet aims to squeeze the Federal Army. And now we move into the mid-afternoon turn. Longstreet and Lee slowly move and menace. Union artillery opens up on Longstreet's units. Not without effect. Fitz-John Porter sees his opportunity and charges. Pope's artillery reserve moves into position. Sigel tries again to cross Bull Run. Jackson dresses his left flank. Pope attempts to reinforce Porter's attack by coming around on the Confederate left, but he's going to find a surprise. Instead, he's going to be flanking his own attack. We'll start with Fitz-John Porter's assault. The attack is repulsed, but not without effect. This was Longstreet's artillery. It fires first, destroying Reynolds' division. Ordinarily, artillery in bombardment can't eliminate a unit, but in close combat, well, the grape is devastating. And now Longstreet pulls his artillery out of the combat. Sigel's second attempt to cross the Bull Run. Though they attacked with vigor, they were driven back. Turn 6, late afternoon. I realize now I've brought the Federal artillery here to shell this line, but if I'd taken them across the bridge, they could have followed this road and been positioned here, shelled the line from the flank with impunity, being across the Bull Run, and Jackson would have had no choice but to fall back. That may be the mistake that makes this strategy work this game. Heintzelman has been drawn, but he does not want to go first, so he does not go. The attack is held up for another turn. And now Longstreet moves. Longstreet goes on the offensive. Reno advances his position forward, but stays in the woods. Jackson recovers his infantry block and returns the artillery to its position. If they're not attacked, they can rally next turn. Pope's troops fall back out of the line of fire. Fitz-John Porter refuses to give ground. Sigel won't be denied and renews the drive across the Bull Run. He has skirts, buttress Stony Ridge, and Pope pulls the artillery back. Combat in the late afternoon. Let's see what Porter's bravado nets him. Well, he had a command. The third assault across the Bull Run. Early evening of day 1, turn 7. 2 more infantry blocks lost, and Pope's army is broke. Now Longstreet has his bags here, but if he unpacks his bags on day 1, his forces leave, and his bags are exposed, and he'll lose if the Union can get to them before he returns. Or he can pull them off, and it's a minor victory for the Union. Basically, Longstreet does not want to unpack on the first day, unless he's in hot combat and thinks he can win before the evening. First drawn is Jackson. Not feeling immediately threatened, Jackson rallies both his spent blocks. No need to move the artillery back into position. There'll be no more attacks tonight. Unless, from Heintzelman, he avoids the troops on the hill and attacks the Confederate right. Having failed in his mission, Sigel pulls his troops back. Reno's 9th Corps springs forward. Longstreet positions himself for a final drive. Early evening combat, Confederate left. That was Stuart, and he merely rides off. On Jackson's right, T.H. Hill's division is driven back. Reno's 9th Corps. Pope pulls the Army of Virginia 3rd Corps back. Now able to reach Poplar Ford safely, the artillery moves across into position. Heintzelman drives forward. Jackson reestablishes a desperate position. And Longstreet, feeling the Union is near broken, he charges. Final combat. Jackson's flanking attack. The battle is inconclusive. However, the North cannot retreat here. Day 1 is ended. Now they did lose 2 blocks here, but one of them was artillery and only one was infantry. So the Union has lost 5 blocks, not 6. They're still around. Now we'll do the night turn. It's not the night turn yet.
I have to admit at this point, I lost track of what turn it was. I don't know if this was the 8th turn or if we had one more turn. So I played as though we had one more turn.
So here we have it. Army of Virginia 3rd Corps takes to the hills and the artillery opens up on the only fresh unit in Jackson's command, putting them in some disorder. He moves his bags to safety. Pope and Sigel form a defensive arc, trying to limit any Confederate perfidy. Reno's 9th Corps drives ahead. Jackson's Corps recovers and reforms. Longstreet strikes one more time. Heintzelman forms line. The cavalry in front of the baggage train. So close, but they are held at bay. Longstreet's assault on Heintzelman's troops. They destroy another Union block in A.P. Hill's Drive.
Hood.
On Virginia's 3rd Corps. And they are driven back. And now Pope has lost 6 infantry blocks, and that breaks his army. Although had that not occurred, you have the night turn. In the night turn, Jackson could not move anything to protect his bags because they were in the field of fire of Reno's corps. So they couldn't have been protected all night. The next day, in the morning, if Reno was activated before Jackson, you just go like that and he'd win. That was very close.
And now I'm going to save you from a long conversation I had with myself about how I like this design and how it's going to work. Because, ultimately, a lot of the conclusions I came to, I've since changed. It's going to be even better.
And by the way, good game.